perspective. What classes she knows you're all Gateway teachers, but just a little bit of what you guys do. And then Toby, and then Toby will take us through her beautiful, her expertise, her fabulous and incredible time we're going to be taking on right now. And she will tell us a lot about what she does, why she does, especially Grandstand today, but in general, just the practices, just her practices. Yeah. Okay.
Holy moly. How many hours have you got? Never mind.
Okay, I think, guys, thank you so much for joining us after a day at work. I think I really appreciate all of you joining us. I think a big thank you to Toby for doing this early morning. And just to introduce Toby, we have a lot of new teachers who might have just heard about Toby, including me. I haven't interacted with her before this, but I was telling her at the start of this call, I have heard only amazing things about her, and for which she warned me, like, be careful about the things that you hear about people, which I'm going to be very cautious about. But yeah, Toby has been associated with Gateway, I think, our school since the beginning, and she has been a mentor to us in every capacity. And a lot of our practices that we see today, I think, are influenced, and the impact that you see is from her. And there's so much that we have learned, and our practices reflect what she actually started at the Gateway School of New York. So Toby today is here to actually talk specifically about the Grandstand. Of course, there will be other questions and other things that she will be sharing, but what is Grandstand to her, and how does she conduct the Grandstand? What is the importance of Grandstand? And why does she bring all the children together, and why does she find it important to bring children of different ages together in this common space, and what is the outcome of this? So Toby, just to introduce, my name is Abhishek, and I teach visual arts at Gateway. And are we introducing all the other team members? Would you like to introduce yourself to Toby? I think we should, because so guys, I think you unmute yourself and quickly say hi to Toby and tell what you do.
Hi Toby, I'm Riddhika. I'm one of the lucky ones because I've actually seen you do the real deal and gotten feedback from you right from the start, like many years back. In 2015, we'd even come to New York and you showed us the Grandstand and everything that was happening at the Gateway there. I'm actually a speech language therapist. I've been at Gateway for a few years now, and I've been conducting the Grandstands for lower school, middle school, and high school. I help in sort of putting it together, and I have a big team, of course, without which we couldn't do it because we have so many kids now. So we have 2 grandstands. We have a lower school grandstand with a few kids from middle school, and we have a high school and a middle school grandstand as well. But yeah.
Hi Toby, I'm Sarah.
Hi Sarah.
I get all your lovely replies to the newsletter every month, and I'm the one who replies to you. And that's been my interaction with you. I teach music at Gateway, and I actually taught homeroom and math a few years ago, but now I'm in the music program. Yeah.
Good for you.
Hi Toby, I am Aditi. I'm also part of the arts team. I teach drama at Gateway. And ever since I joined school, I've been on the Grandstand team with Riddhika, and I love Grandstand. It's been a lot of fun. I've also heard a lot about you from many different people at Gateway, so I'm really looking forward to this session.
You're a brave girl.
Hi Toby, I'm Aradhna. I'm an occupational therapist, so with the sensory motor department. And I was also on the Grandstand committee the first 2 years and learned so much from everyone there. So really excited to learn more from you.
Great.
Hey Toby, I'm Gomati. I've been in the Grandstand committee, I think, for 2 years now, ever since I've joined Gateway, and I've absolutely loved it. I teach humanities and science, and this year it's MLU, so I get to teach a spectrum of things. So yeah.
Welcome.
Okay, I'll go next. Hi Toby, I'm Zara. And I joined Gateway last year, and I joined the Grandstand team last year as well. And I think it's one of mine and one of our students' favorite classes. They really, really look forward to Grandstand, and I do too. And I'm very, very excited to hear from you, because just like the others, all I've heard is Toby is awesome, Toby is awesome. And I'm going to get to experience that today. And so I'm really looking forward to that. Thank you.
It's nice to meet you.
So clearly, Toby, no pressure. We have built you up at all. I'm Radhika, and we met. Unfortunately, I may have to run early because my parents are already calling me and saying, you know, we had a thing and we had to get that done. So it's like my destiny with you that I always have to run out before our conversations are done. But I'm glad I got to come early and chat with you, and I'm going to try and be in as much as I can. But yeah, so I work with lower and middle school. I did Grandstand for a bit as well. We've read, you know, Elizabeth Freudis's book about where she talks about Grandstand, and I think all of us are just so, like, we haven't had the joy of sort of seeing it the way Ritika has and some of our other team members have. And so it'll be exciting to hear your, you know, to see it through your eyes today. So I think we're looking forward to doing that.
Well, it was nice to see you again. Great.
Hi, Toby. I'm Aditi, and I work with the lower school. And we had some interactions over email last year. You helped me with one of my students. So I'm happy to find
the runners.
Oh, the runners.
Yeah. So I'm happy to finally meet you, even though it's virtual. Looking forward to all the learning.
Hi, Toby, Rudri here. It's so nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too.
How are you? How are things?
Good. Things are good. Hot. But I'm sure it's hot there too.
It's good weather at least. It's better weather than the time we were there.
Yeah, right.
For sure. So looking forward to, you know, hearing exciting things, and of course, like Grandstand, from what it was years back to what it is now, has, you know, transformed and changed, and there are so many exciting things happening on both ends. You know, looking forward to hearing things from you, and yeah.
Great. I'm getting overwhelmed, folks. I have to tell you right now. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Prerna. I actually teach math, and I'm a homeroom teacher in the middle school. And Grandstand is a space that my kids are always excited about, and I'm looking forward to learn more today.
Hi, Toby. I'm Nikisha. I work with the high school, and I am with Ritika and the Grandstand team, and have been with them from last year, which was my first year at Gateway. I'm really looking forward to learning so many new things through this session today.
Oh my. Okay.
No pressure.
I hope so too, but there's no guarantee here, folks. Can we go, everybody?
Hi, Toby. This is Alicia. I'm the speech language therapist at Gateway. Also, this is my third year on the Grandstand committee. And I know that you're going to give us some great insight that we can use in Grandstand the forthcoming years.
Okay, see, I told you I was overwhelmed. I'm leaving now. Okay.
I think we are, I think almost everyone has introduced.
I think Prerna has Prerna. I saw Prerna. I don't think everyone's finished.
Also, just joined. Someone just joined. I think Manda just joined.
Georgia and Mandy.
Quickly, can you?
Hi, Toby. I am Manda. I teach, I'm with the SE team and all across lower school, middle school, high school.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Georgia. I'm actually new teacher at Gateway this year.
I don't hear.
Hi, I'm Georgia. I'm actually a teacher at Gateway this year, and I'm working with the lower school team.
Welcome.
Georgia is Radhika Miskita's cousin as well. Joby.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Do you see how we influence our families? Do you see how we bring everyone in?
Nice.
I said we bring everyone into Gateway. Like I brought Dharmil into Gateway now. He doesn't have a choice. Even he wants to keep coming back.
Nobody like, you even get the little kids in, you know, because kids, everybody come in, but school is open for everybody.
Yes.
First of all, that's it? Number one, I'm overwhelmed. Number two, I'm really pleased to be here. Number three, I don't think there is any way that I could possibly cover what you give these kids in Grandstand in any short amount of time, because it is huge. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of start with telling you all of it, many things that the kids get from Grandstand. I'm sure most of this you're going to have heard before, but sometimes, you know, when my mentor said, whatever you're going to tell people, you need to tell them 10 times, because maybe the 9th time it'll get through. But with you, I'm sure that you already know this, but I'm going to do it. I would go through anyway, some of it. I'm sure I'm not going to cover the whole thing, but let me start by telling you that Grandstand could not be a better social functioning area for the kids. Our kids need all of the cues that they can get from Grandstand, and they get it from you. And once they can get it from you, they get it from each other, and that's the important thing. I'm going to just tell you one of the first things that I did in Grandstand. I'm going to skip around here. I got pages here. I sat up last night writing, but one of the things, well, wait a minute, let me get organized here. One of the things, the first thing that they get is that visual, that focusing, that ability to focus, and you all know this. They come to Grandstand and their chairs are there already, all right? They're set up, they know to go to a chair. You're up in the front. Now you as teachers are going to be as animated as you possibly can. You're going to be as lively as you can. You're going to give them all those facial, all those body cues they don't necessarily have. They don't necessarily, one of the things I would do is have all of the kids stand on top of their chairs. I don't know whether you can do that anymore. We used to do that, but I'm not too sure we can do that anymore. But anyway, stand on top of their chairs. Once they're up there, what it does is it isolates them. When they're sitting next to kids, they're ready to fool around. When they're on a chair, their balance is in precarious shape here. They're not going to fool around. They're going to look at you because they're a little scared. But that's okay, because one of the things you want them to do is begin to feel what balance is like. What does my body feel like on a different kind of surface? And I don't care if they're little kids or big kids. I used to have my oldest kids, along with the littlest kids, be on chairs. And if the littlest kids were a little precarious, the older kids would learn to reach out their hands. Not touch them, nothing, just sort of their hands are there. So if the little kids need to grab it, it's there. But that's the first thing. And when I have them on chairs, I would just do, well, first of all, I would do facial movements. And you must all do that, you know, just this, so they get to know their body parts. But as you're doing it, I label it, and then eventually down the line, they label it. Shoulder, head, nose, chin. I shouldn't touch my face. I'm sorry about that. Knees. And you don't go to your toes yet if you have very, very little kids, because they may fall off the chairs. So you need to be really careful. But you go to knees, and then you go to hips. You go to waist, if they can find their waist, like I can't anymore. But whatever you're going to do, you label it. It is so important for speech and language. Our kids have so much trouble with their speech and their language. So you're going to do that. And then you're going to try, once you do that, and you do that, I do these things, these movements and labeling and every day, because that's the first effort to get them all to focus. That's the first effort to get them there. And then I go into maybe more, I should go to the facial. Then I go kind of facial. So I will have the kids stick out their tongue. I mean, many of our kids don't know how to use their tongue. So I will get them to turn their heads and by direction. But first of all, it's by miming. I do this, they do this. I do this, they do this. I do this, they do this. And then I smile. And some of them look at me like I'm crazy, because some of them don't really know how to smile. And then I frown, or then I get angry. I get really angry. It's all of these expressions that they can't necessarily do by themselves. You need to teach them. I'm talking about little kids, but I'm also talking about some of the older autistic kids who don't necessarily have any of those facial expressions. You have to model it for them before they can ever get them. So I do a lot of that modeling. And when I'm up there, and I'm sure all of you, I'm a ham. I mean, I get so dramatic, it is not to be believed. Almost to the point of it, where it kind of begins to look like you're a little bit not too with us. But the kids, this is another way of getting their attention. That all of a sudden they're looking at you like, Jesus, is this person all right? But I got their focus. I don't care if they think I'm crazy. I got their focus, and this is a very important thing to do. You want to get their focus. You want to keep their focus. Okay, those are kind of some of the basic things that I do. Oh, one more thing about this activity is once they get that, then I start with language. Stand on top of your chair, go under your chair, go around your chair, if you can possibly do that, go under your chair. All of these things so that they are doing what they are hearing. And what I'm aiming for them to begin to learn to do is one of the kids, or many of the kids, eventually they're going to get up there and they're going to lead Grandstand. And some of the older kids who have the over, the under, that kind of thing, they're up there, they tell the kids what to do. And all of a sudden, when you do that, you're beginning to empower the kids with language. And one of your main focuses for Grandstand is empowering the kids. You want them to feel a power with language, which they do not have necessarily. I mean, some of them do. Some of them chatterbox away, but they may not be right on target. They may go transientally off into the wilderness. God knows where they're going to go with this language. You need to pull them back, but you need to empower them with language. And one important thing for teachers is the less we say, the better for them. Number one, they don't hear everything. And if we talk rapidly, if we say too much, they may have heard the last thing, they may have heard the first thing, but they don't necessarily hear the whole thing. And so we need to help the kids we need to use ourselves as that robot. We don't say much. We can do a lot of gestures because they also don't pick up body language necessarily. And we want them to do that. We want them to get the gestures. We want them to get to understand when you do this, you're not reprimanding them, but you're saying, hey, maybe that's not quite the thing that you want to do at this point. They need to pick that up because they need to go out into society where people are going to say, they need to pick those things up. They need to pick up all kinds of things from society so that they're not looked upon as being different as they are. I mean, all of our kids are going to be eccentric because God love them, that's what they are. But we can love them for that. Frankly, I do. I think they're just great. Because in the long run, I have found that our kids have more empathy for each other and for others than many so-called regular kids do, regular people do, because they understand what they're going through. And one of the ways that they do that is talking through it with speech and language people, with social psychologists, with social workers. But that's later. I'm getting off my thing. Okay, so that's number one, all right? But always in the back of my mind is that thought that I want to empower these kids. I want them to feel like they can really learn. Okay, so that's one part. The next thing is the listening, and that's where you do the verbal follow directions, stand on top of your chair, go below your chair, all of those kinds of things. and eventually you want somebody else to be able to lead in in giving these directions. And then think about all the motor work that they're getting when they're doing this. They're getting tons of motor work, and they're on top of their chairs. So you have taken their balance away from them. You have taken that solid ground away from them. They're up on their chairs. And that's what makes it really even more relevant, because they're really having to try hard to keep that balance. Even though one side is doing or the other side is doing, it means righting yourself. It means finding that center point that you can rely on. I think another important part of Grandstand is, I don't know whether to go to motor or but I think another way to empower the kids is when you give them turns. Now, they can't have turns until they're able to listen to you. And that's why you're doing all of these looking and listening activities with them. But once they get that, then you start in, and you may have one of the kids that is more verbal or older be up there for a turn. I know you've all done this. If I'm beating a dead horse, you have to raise your hand and say, hey, give me the thumbs up and I will go on. But one of the things about giving a child a turn is it's empowering him. All of a sudden, he's able to get up in Grandstand. Now, we've had several kids who don't know how to get up in Grandstand. They don't know what to say. And this is where the speech and language therapist in a private session can help them. Our speech and language, we had one little boy who would get up there and he would just stand there and look at everybody. Okay. So our speech and language person taught him certain things. Number one, what did you do first? Then what did you do? Where was it? Who were you with? So from then on, he would get up in Grandstand and he would say, as I was saying, I went to, et cetera, et cetera. He would always start with, as I was saying. Well, that was 2 weeks ago, Lenny. This is now. But if you give the kids, those kids who do not have that program or that way to to get into a conversation, the speech and language person does it for them. And that's a big help. But once they're up there, you're going to help the rest of the kids to really listen to this child. Maybe Lenny says, I know one day Lenny said he was going to go to Miami for his vacation. Or he was going to Miami, and the kids started to laugh. And I stopped everybody and I said, wait a minute. Who can tell us why you're laughing? And one of the little boys, Jimmy, raised his hand and he said, well, he said he's going to go see his Ammy. What's his Ammy? So this is a great teaching thing. I mean, all of a sudden I got out the map and I said, wait a minute, Lenny, tell the kids, what is Miami? And then Lenny is a teacher. He says, oh, it's a place in the map, etc. But it's all of these things so that if you can get the kids tuned into you, you need to help this one kid who's up here all by himself to be able to make himself clear, but also to have these kids listening to him. And once you get all of these kids beginning to listen to him, because you're going to ask once in a while, you'll say, oh, Lenny, will you stop just a minute? Did you hear what he said, Doug? What did he say? And so Doug will either say, oh, I don't know. He said, and then you say, can somebody help Doug? Sarah, can you help Doug explain what Lenny just said? Because Doug didn't hear it all, etc. So now Doug is really listening because Sarah's going to say it, but Sarah listened. But as many of these tricks as you can to get these kids to pay attention to what the person up here is talking about. So that way what you're doing is you're opening it up so that everybody now is, hopefully eventually, everybody is now tuned in to what was said, and then they can, at the end of his speech, Lenny will say, are there any questions or statements? I guess you could say that too, right? Are there any questions or statements? Okay, this is a great teaching tool when you get back into the classroom. What is a question? What is a statement? What do statements mean? What kind of statements are there? Was that fact or fiction? Is it fact or is it propaganda? Can you really believe this? I mean, you can take it huge. You can go all over with these things, but these all happen in Grandstand. And one of the things that I used to do with the little kids, I would bring them back into the classroom and I would say, who remembers what Lenny talked about? And what did Sarah do to help? And who did Sarah help? So that way, once you're in your little classroom, all of a sudden you're tuning these kids in to what more of what went on in Grandstand, so that they are learning to be attentive to the outside world and to remember it and to hold on to it. I mean, there's just so much there that you can get. Varsha, or I need to know, how much time do you want me to talk? I don't want to beat a dead horse here.
No, you can keep talking, but no.
But these people want to go home.
Yeah, don't worry, Toby.
Everyone's home, Toby.
Yeah, everyone's home. It's nice to be in New York in your apartment.
I know, but they want to eat or something. But okay, I will talk for how much longer you want me to talk?
Abhi, 15 minutes is good, and then questions.
15 more minutes? Okay.
I think 15 minutes is good.
15 minutes is good. Okay, tell me when my 15 minutes is up because my watch doesn't work. It's a Fitbit, and it only tells me how many steps I took today. Not too many. Anyway, that's just a small part of what you do with these kids. And if you have kids who cannot talk, who just can't get up there right away, because there will be kids like that who just can't. Those are the kids that hold the flag. Those are the kids that lead do whatever happens to be a pattern that you have. Those are the kids that are going to call on other kids to do whatever activity that you're going to do. You're going to use those kids in that smaller way so that eventually they can begin to talk. But also the speech and language therapist, thank God you are. Where are you? You're here. Will work. Yeah, hi, there you. Will work with the kids by herself. She's going to ask them, what did you do over the weekend? Tell me 3 things. Can you tell that in Grandstand? Or just tell one thing that you did in Grandstand, so that eventually these kids begin to feel that, I have a structure here. I know where to begin. Okay. Then one of the things that I do is I use games to help the kids. And what we want to do is, the kids are in a huge grandstand. Oh, let me tell you one thing I used to do with Grandstand. After a while, when the kids would come in every morning and they would have, and the chairs would be all there for them, I would have a white border or black border or green border, whatever color board you got. And I would say to the kids, number one, you all just sat down in a what? What do you call that shape that you sat in? And so that the kids then begin to label the shape they sat in. And then I will say to them, can you draw it on the whiteboard? And so then each one comes up and they draw it in whatever way that they can. And then if some of the kids are having a little trouble with the shape, you may draw part of it and have them finish it. You don't want anybody up there who is going to fail. Whatever our kids do, you're going to help them so that they succeed in whatever it is that they're going to try. And you don't call those kids up that can't hold a pencil correctly or carefully, or it's going to fall. Instead, you work with them in OT and you help them there's all kinds of activities in OT that you can do with them. But that's the first step. And they label it and they draw it. And then what I do is I bring maybe 2 or 3 sets of different kinds of blocks. And I will call different people up and I will say, can you make the seats the way they were in Grandstand? Now what I want them to do is not only draw it, but then they draw it and then they transfer it to what they're doing. So they've got that visual to kinesthetic, so that there's more than one way here to learn what kind of a shape it is. And eventually down the line, you're going to have the kids all come in and they're going to make their own arc. And once they do that, I mean, the chairs will be by the door, so they pick up their chairs and they put their chairs in a certain, and then once they do that, you know that the first and second and third and fourth time is not going to be exactly an arc. So you will say, okay, everybody, and you'll bring certain, maybe a group of kids up to the front, and you'll say, okay, everybody take a look at that shape. Who can draw it on the blackboard? Now, all of a sudden, they're looking at this shape, which is now up here and maybe over here. And so then you're going to say, okay, can you make it look like an arc? Can you fix it? Everybody stand behind your chair, because so-and-so is going to come and fix this so that it looks like what you want it to look like, the shape that he drew on the blackboard. And so then he is now the leader, and he is going to make that thing look like that. Do you see what I mean? Every day you're going to do that again, but you don't do that until they have this circle in them so much that they really, you know, have it. Or whatever. But that is one of the things that is, whatever you're going to be doing, build on it. Oh, and speaking of building, there's another thing you can do. I don't know whether you do this. Do you have building sessions in Grandstand? Yes? One of the nice thing about the building sessions is, I don't know whether you do this, but you have different building areas. So the kids and they have a team, they choose a team. And I always started with 2 kids, because you want those 2 kids to talk together. You want those 2 kids to begin to learn how to talk to each other. Then you add 3 as a building team. But you give them a time limit. You kids, all right, everybody, you set the parameters. First minute, you're going to stand with your teammate beside the blocks that you're going to build, and you're going to talk about what it is you want to build, okay? Then I'm giving you 10 minutes to build. And then when you hear the bell, that means you have 1 minute to decide what it is you built together, how you did it, and who's going to talk about it. You choose a leader to talk about it in Grandstand. So you do this, so you build, each time you build, and then you start with 2, then you go to 3, and then you can have a group of 4 or 5.
Toby, I just wanted to interrupt that. What's happened is Gateway is doing some amazing work. So I think they moved away a lot from, I mean, of course, the practices are the same. It's built on the same philosophy. But I think they've moved away a lot from these, from just standing up on the chair, which I wanted to bring back. And that's why I'm so glad you're bringing this up, because what's happening is they're just doing the higher order thinking without really building. I mean, not that they're not building on, but the basics have to be really solid to be able to build on it. Because what happens is in the higher order thinking, only certain kids are the ones who really benefit from that. Not the entire population. And what happens is the entire population is then then they have leaders, and the leaders are the same kids who are the ones who always excel. So that's what I want to change. Not changing what Gateways Mumbai is doing in Grandstand, but there should be a space for these other kids who are not able to do these, the whole communication part, the entire the process of how you getting your, labeling your body. Just what I'm saying is adding language to movement. That's what I think a lot of our kids, even the older kids, are lacking. So when we're doing lots of wonderful things in Grandstand, we're missing out the essence of Grandstand. And I think essence goes into even the learning in the classroom. So a lot of this is kind of lost. And I think Grandstand should take this up. They should not lose out on this, because I think it's very important. Like the building blocks, I haven't seen that happening at all.
We, in terms of building, we do a lot of that with our lower school and middle school kids. So we've gone from like them using actual objects to build things, or actually using their bodies to create shapes and make things. We also had like a maker space last year. So using different materials to actually build things, and then obviously like explain what they're building. And we usually have different themes, and that's where we go from. But like you said, Toby, we usually do a lot of like building up on what we start. So it could be something as simple as 2 kids kids starting to build something, whether with their bodies or with the things, the material that's provided. In the past we've done lots of games where literally like you'll have a listener, you'll have a speaker, the two children will be building something while the listener will be listening to what they're doing, or the speaker will be explaining to them how to sort of build it. So we do include, so we do this a lot for our lower school and our middle school kids. We've moved slightly away from it, but like last year we incorporated this whole building concept in terms of we were doing a little thing where they were all, because we were talking about history in different countries, so they all had different countries, and they actually built in their teams, they built like monuments or some sort of a structure or something from that country together. But for our lower, like our little ones and our middle school range kids, we're constantly doing a lot of like using their bodies.
No, what I'm just saying that because it's Toby, and Toby's like, it's a family, but it's only the higher, or the kids who have that higher order thinking can really are the ones. We in Grandstand, what I've noticed is that we've missed out a lot on the other kids that can actually, the roles have to change. It cannot be the same Namas and Abhays and all being the leaders. So that's when I'm saying that the essence of Grandstand is kind of lost, is because we're doing these amazing things, but I think their foundation needs to be really solid. And that's where we're going back to what Toby's saying, is that these little things, but they add value. So you can have another kid who probably doesn't have that much hold on the language skills coming up and then leading the group. But to be able to lead the group, you need to have the basics there. Which I feel it's only it's again there were only the leaders, like Yuvraj said, my leader is I think Nama was his, or it was Abhay. So again, what I'm saying is, and again, I'm not saying I'm very happy with Yuvraj. Yeah, but Yuvraj is always, I get feedback from him, so he's always following. There's never a space where Yuvraj can be, a structure is given to Yuvraj where he leads a group. So that's where it's only the top lot. And then we get these amazing things that happen, the amazing work that happens. But the ones which are in the middle and who kind of miss out on taking that role of a leader. It's only the Adidevas, only the Abhays, only those are taking on to create this beautiful, magnificent thing which you do, which is an amazing thing. But I feel the importance of giving that foundation to each and every child is being lost somewhere. That's what I'm feeling.
That makes sense. So that's one of the things that we do struggle with our older kids. With our lower school and our middle school kids, what happens is it's a smaller group size, and of course, like a lot of them have lots of language difficulties. A lot of them have, we're working really hard with their bodies, so it's all big movements. We're focusing on the speaker, the listener, those kind of things, and lots of imitation and very simple, like few kids getting together, doing a game, creatively problem solving, how to sort of make that happen. Very like the kind of things we've seen you do. So we sort of build on that. With the older kids, what has happened is we've now moved on to like kids in high school and middle school, and we have a group size of 50. And something we started doing a few years back is we started sort of picking up like projects. So we'd either use the space to for them to showcase their talents, or for them to come up and be like, this is what I like. We had an I Teach week where we had children teaching the other kids like something that they're good at, or we had like a talent week. Or slowly what started happening is we started collaborating with different departments. So in the past, like last year, we collaborated with the drama department, and then we created teams. So it became a little project oriented. So we had teams, and our focus became like student voice, student choice, getting them together, working on a process with like building background information, creating something together, making something together. We had like a filmmaking, like we had a film project. So Indira's right. What does happen is a lot of times there are there are a few kids who sort of take over, and it's their voice, it's their choice. They know how to sort of, we build the organizational pieces for them. And there are a few kids that do miss out on this in the high school section. So one of the things we do definitely struggle with is how do we differentiate for them, and we try our best, which is why we've actually got a much larger Grandstand team. So every group has like mentors and like teachers who are really breaking it down for the children in terms of like this is the organizational structure. If you're doing only this, they literally break it down to this is the language we use, this is how, these are the sentence starters for you to sort of get this conversation going in the groups. But I think that's somewhere where we're trying to sort of, we collaborate with the curriculums and sort of bring things in, and we do have our top lot that sort of shines, and we try our best to sort of break it down and differentiate it for the others. But how do we sort of find that balance where we give them this as well?
Yeah, I know, I understand what you're saying. And I do know what happens to kids. And I know when you have kids with different kinds of skills, and as they get older, their skills get greater and greater. One of the things that we did is with the younger, when you have a younger group where these kids are still struggling and you're going to do all of these activities for years.
Yes.
Our kids don't pick up things fast. You're going to do them for years. What you do with those older kids, and I'm talking about the older kids who have less skills, not those with most skills. You can work with them. You can do all kinds of things with them. The older kids who do not have those skills, use them in grandstands with the younger kids. This is where they can shine. This is where they can be empowered. But you have to help them, and you have to structure it for them. So, for instance, I remember when I was there once, and I was doing grandstand, and there was that little boy with the glasses who was having a hard time getting through boxes. I said to Yuvraj, "Can you help him?" And Yuvraj reached out a finger. He didn't help him through the boxes, but he reached out a finger and let you hold his finger so he could get through the boxes. You're going to use these kids who do not feel like they can take over and be. Now Yuvraj is the leader. He's the mentor for this little kid. He's the helper. You're going to have lots of kids in Grandstand who are going to have problems like this. You've got all of these activities. Use those kids, not the high-powered kids. Use those kids with difficulties, who have language difficulties, who have whatever kind of difficulties. Use them to help the younger kids, not take over for the younger kids. There needs to be, it's sort of like you do a counseling session. You pick out a group of kids and you say, I need you. So older kids I'm talking about with these difficulties. I need you kids to help us with Grandstand. All right. You will see some of the kids will have a little bit of trouble. For instance, I'm sure you doesn't have this trouble anymore, but you might have trouble getting on a chair. What can you do to help him? I can put out a finger to help him get up. So that they understand. Or so-and-so has trouble finding a word. What could you do? I could wait until I think he's having trouble, and I might give him a word like on or whatever. But it's going to be really simple stuff like that. You're going to have these kids begin to feel an empowerment because they're involved in a grandstand where they're the teacher, they're the mentor. There are tons of activities you can do this in. They can even be the organizer for the for the buildings for the little kids. They can go get the materials. They can start the kids. They can say, okay, we have blocks over here. Who would like to do the blocks? Raise your hand. Then all of a sudden, these older kids have a part. You're going to use them not as followers, but you want to nourish that leadership in them. So therefore, you're going to figure out with every activity you do, how can I use an older kid? Not to tell the kids what to do, but to guide them. And it's really, it's one of the fun parts of my job was trying to how do I get that kid to shut up in order for this kid to learn? And it's a challenge, but it's a wonderful challenge. And if you like, I can try and think up some more activities, but right now I can't. But you see what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's very important. It's more important for these kids to learn how to be empowered with language than it is for them to be a follower and just go along with what everybody else is doing.
That's what I wanted to talk about, is basically getting every child to become a sort of a leader in some way where they feel
And
empowered.
where their skills are.
Yeah, wherever their skills are, but where they feel empowered. Because what's happening is what I'm noticing with this is also a little bit of I mean, the reason I want to hear from you is I always see Yuvraj is not willing to take on the responsibility of starting something because he hasn't learned how to. He doesn't know how to. He doesn't have a structure how he can lead a group. So if you give him a basic structure, so if you give him that structure, I know he'll be able to do something, and that'll empower him, and that's when we'll find his strength. So that's when I'm seeing that the entire high school grandstand is being overtaken by these higher functioning kids, and the others are kind of lost in the way. And that's where I feel the high school grandstand needs to be tweaked a bit. They're doing amazing work. Ritika is doing just phenomenal work, and so is Aditi and everyone. But I just feel that we need to find ways to make all our kids, lead in some sort of way, because every time it's the same kids. Like the lower school, yes, but you can. But it's a little easier. But I think the tricky part will be with our older kids. Where will you involve the older ones who are so shy and they are so nervous, they're not able to because they don't have those skills and the language. And for the other kids, it'll be it's not appropriate because they are already at a level where they feel this is all childish and, this kind of is like baby work, they called it. And, that's what we have to change their mindset also.
One of the ways you can do that is you can have one of the older kids who, the kids who are having difficulties, mentor a younger kid. Once they get to know a younger kid in Grandstand, you will say, I need you to help out so-and-so because he is having, and he can even, I don't know who the OT is or whoever, but he can even go to OT and help out in OT, help out this child, not tell him what to do, but to find ways in which use language, use the older kid, use his language to say, go over, so that way he's connected with the child. And when he goes to Grandstand, he has that connection. And I think that they need to know that these kids are giving a special job. They're giving a job of mentoring a younger kid. They're going to be that younger kid's teacher or guide or whatever.
But Ritika, you can create internships like these for the older ones. These can be like little internship jobs where they come on a Friday or whichever one day. Anyway, we're looking for high school kids, right, Barsha? We're looking for internships all the time for our older kids. Maybe it could be their internship plan, part of their internship plan, where they come and actually, initially you train them, you give them a structure, and then they later on sort of lead a small group. And we can have kids there, yeah.
I think the bigger picture is that only, right? That's what Indira has been saying. Let's give everyone an opportunity to be successful somewhere. Let's give everyone an opportunity to lead somewhere. And I don't think this is only for Grandstand. I think this is for all of us to keep in mind.
Yeah, exactly. It's wherever, even the nurse, if you have a nurse or whoever, they need to have a leadership role. They need to know that this is they need to feel like, by God, I can finally take care of somebody, or I can be a big brother to somebody or a big sister or whatever the heck.
We can send Rajdeep to the nurse to be her assistant. I'm sure he'll be very good. We have lots of students, Toby, are giving us lots of ideas.
But I don't know, man.
Go get the Band-Aids. Let's get Band-Aids.
I have an assistant as well.
Yeah,
but
really,
I'm very tired. I'm coming to help you and work with you. I don't want to study. So come.
No, but they have a certain specific time. This will be their mentor time, so that you work it out with the teacher. Their mentor time is this time. Do you want to go to the nurses thing, or do you want to go see your little buddy in gym or whatever? But you work out those times so that they know they have a responsibility. They have a time schedule. This is when I do my reading. This is if I get my math all done. This is if I get my humanities done. Now I'm going to go work with somebody, my special person. And if they have a special person, they really feel, that connection. And this also builds their social skills. It builds their ability to begin to empathize with somebody else. And you talk about that kid. You talk about, the difficulties that the child is having. He could even go into the classroom if the teachers don't mind, and maybe go into a corner with this child and help this child with perceptual activities or whatever. But you're going to find something that these older kids who are lost, but that these older kids can find in order to help somebody else. It's almost, I know it's a
but don't worry about the time, Toby. I mean, it's great. I mean, this is the feedback I needed. Like I wanted to hear, I wanted them to hear you say these things, because how important it is just building this kind of sense of responsibility with these kids who are so lost. It's, you know, when I see them in Grandstand, I see those lost faces. Yes, they're enjoying, and yes, it's great work. But there is a section of them, when I look around, as I look at them, they're lost. They don't know what's happening. They're just following, you know, and not really using their mind as much. They're just kind of following, and they're excited to be just followers, which is what Yuvraj has become. He's just very happy because there's no expectation from him. So he's happy just following. And when it comes for him to take up responsibilities, then it becomes, and in real life, that's what Grandstand transfers into real life situations. Like you said, yeah.
Easier to follow. It's much easier to follow.
It's much easier to follow. Like in Grandstand, you touch upon social emotion, you touch upon, you know, the social aspect, the language aspect. How do you communicate in a small, when you hang out with your friends, how do you communicate? I think Grandstand is that space for that social interaction. You're learning the real life experience. And I think that's what we need to bring back into our Grandstand. With all the learning that's happening, there's some part I feel we need to just keep bringing this up over and over again, just to bring on that social angle. You know how you have social groups, Ritika, you must be aware as a speech therapist, you have social groups. They pick the right kids to socialize. But here, this diverse group, the kids need to learn how to socialize, because that's how life is. What are the right things to say? How do you carry on? How do you carry on a conversation? Take turns. How do I wait my turn? Many of our kids are, so they do that well. But I just feel now this whole piece of everyone being able to lead in some way is a big,
yes, for sure. I mean, that's something that we should definitely look into. We try. I mean, the good thing is that now we have so many hands on deck, so we've been able to try and at least break it down for all the kids and give them that support. But I think we'll have to really look at, like, how do we empower each and every child to really get going when they're in that group. Maybe look at structuring it a little bit differently in terms of how we group them. We do put a lot of thought into that, to be honest, and we'll have one kid who can help another kid, or a kid who probably, you know, we give them the responsibility to do something, when, like, we'll give someone to do a documentation, give them that. Maybe if they don't know how to do it, break it down and really teach them how to do it. But I think this is something we can definitely be more actively aware about, and really break it down for them to, in terms of giving each one that opportunity to go ahead and lead.
But I think starting from where Toby said, like, the basics is what we have to start with. I think that's where the win-win situation is. If we start with the basics, even if these guys have to go through it, it doesn't matter, few turns, but just get the basics going. They have to be able to, and let the ones who are leaders initially lead, and then get people like Yuvraj to lead the middle school Grandstand or the lower school Grandstand. You know what I mean? Like, because I know Nama and all will so-called say, they'll say they're bored, because they've become so used to in Grandstand doing all these high order thinking stuff, that for them this will become so-called boring. I mean, I can imagine that typically.
I mean, I'm sure we can differentiate it in a way where we challenge them at a just right level, right? Like, we can figure out what a Nama and all can do versus what, like, say, Yuvraj or some kids from the HSAP, or, you know, we can. But
Toby, please correct me if I'm wrong, but don't separate them. You have to do it within that space.
Yes, we wouldn't do that. Yeah, for
Toby?
sure.
Toby, is that correct?
But I mean, you know, you can keep them with those kids, but you also need to give them the chance to do it with younger kids. You have to give them that time and that space. They have to feel a sense of leadership, a sense of, because you keep them with the older kids all the time, okay, but what are they getting from it? You'll always have to ask yourself, what are they getting from what they're doing in Grandstand with these older kids? Whatever you're doing with all the kids, you question, is he getting anything from this Grandstand? If he's not, what do I need to do about this? I may need to go back further, and I may need to go back further by working just with these kids, or putting them in with younger kids, as mentors, but also when they're with those younger kids as mentors, they do what the younger kids do because they're role models. And that's another thing you're going to teach these kids. These older kids are going to be role models. So whatever you do, look at what I do. I'm doing the same thing they're doing. I'm standing on top of the chair. They need it. They need to get back to the nitty gritty and do some of the things that the little kids are doing. You always question, is it going beyond them? And if it is, I'm not, they're wasting their time. I'm wasting their time.
So I'm sorry to cut you, Toby, but
oh, that's okay. You can cut me anytime. I'm ready to go.
We can continue internally, but I think, can we now use the next, I think, the remaining time to take questions? If anyone has any general questions regarding Grandstand or anything specific that you came into this meeting that Toby can answer. Just unmute yourself and you can ask the question.
See, I overwhelmed them. That's it.
Okay, I'll start. I have a question. I'll start. And
you have a question.
I had two questions actually. The first one is, when you did Grandstand, right now we pair the children according to the section. So we have a lower school Grandstand, and then we have a middle school and high school Grandstand. Since we are talking about the grouping, when you conducted Grandstand, did you mix the children according to their sections or according to their ages or their challenges? That's my first question. And second is, you mentioned about using the grandstand as a space for socializing and working on the speech and language goals. But is that something that when you did Grandstand, did you involve the arts in the Grandstand? Did you involve the music, the drama aspect in the Grandstand? And how did you do that?
Oh, always. The arts were involved. The music was involved. Every aspect of drama was involved. We have a great. Sarah came to Mumbai. Do you remember Sarah Kiesel?
Sarah Kiesel, the movement teacher.
She was our drama teacher. And she would get up there and she would do all kinds of plays and things. But she would, in her mind, she would say, "Okay, everybody, you are going to remember or think." I remember one time she and I did this play about. We are going to be miners. Because they were learning about the gold mine rush and all that kind of stuff, and the 49ers in San Francisco and all that kind of stuff. So we said, you're the miners. Now you need to get up and you need to go to the mine. Now where is the mine? The mine, where's the mine? The mine is over there. So she did these, and so the kids had to pretend to be miners. This meant they had to hit the blocks, they had to do all kinds of things, but it led to a lot of conversation. How did you feel when you were a miner? What did it feel like to hold a sledgehammer? It's hard, it's tough. So if you're going to hold a sledgehammer, you need to really hold that sledgehammer, because one of the kids got up and did this, and we said to the other kids, "Is that how you hold a sledgehammer?" But so you can do all kinds of things in drama-wise. Music-wise, yes, we had. Actually, we got the kids to play music. We had one little girl who played the violin. We had a choir going, so they would come and they would sing, and then we would all sing along. We had several kids who played musical instruments, and so we got them together. And I did a lot of, I'm a little embarrassed about this now, but do you know Tingaleo? Well, never mind. Tingaleo is a musical piece in which you sing it and you act it out. I will not act it out and I will not sing it, but I used to do that with the little kids. And so we would sing this song, and it had movement to it, and it had, you did all kinds of crazinesses with this song. So we would do things like that. And that, like Tingaleo and any of those kinds of songs with movement and expression. And there are lots of them. I can't right now think of any more, but Tingaleo comes to mind because I was embarrassed. Because Mrs. Fridas decided that she was going to have a very big visiting day that day. And here I am up there in Grandstand doing Tingaleo. And I thought, oh my God, here's this old lady doing Tingaleo. Anyway, but the movement, the music, you use music with movement and facial expressions is the greatest thing in the world. So that was one of, instead of standing on chairs, that was one of the things that we did. Okay. As far as art's concerned, we did a lot. I would do partially, one of the things I did is I would do partially a squiggle. And I would have the kids come up and finish the squiggle. And it could be modern. Sometimes we would label it, oh, it looks like a Picasso, you know, or hey, it's a face, or what kind of a face could that be? It could be a bear. Can somebody make it into a bear? All of these kinds of things. And it didn't matter what they drew, because some of our kids cannot draw. I can't. But we could see something in it, you know, so that whatever they did was special. Because it was theirs. And so you have to respect them for what they did. All of those kinds of things. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. Yes, Toby.
Okay.
I think the grouping is also a question, no, Abhi, something that we're wondering about since a while. What we do right now, Toby, is we do the middle school and high school together. Some of the classes. And then
how many kids is that, Barsha?
Sorry?
So middle school, we have half of middle school and high school together. That's about 55 kids, and then we break them down into smaller groups of like about 10 to 12 children in each group. And we sort of break them up based on what we're working on at that point. And they're then in smaller groups, but we have a lot of stuff where it's the whole group together as well. So like last year we had like a games month where kids would choose their friends and then they would plan a game for the rest of the entire group. And then that's when we have them all together. And also in terms of like what we've set up is, because it's a lot about now like student voice choice, they're doing things in their groups. The beginning of Grandstand is always when like everyone gets together, we're all reflecting on what each group has done, where they're at, what they can do differently. They get all that and then they sort of break up into groups for if we are working on a project, or then it's a whole group together. Our lower school is with the younger middle schoolers. So it's about, again, a group of about 30 children.
Okay. When the first day, our school was, the capacity of our school at before I retired was 90. So the first maybe 2 weeks, I would have all the kids together. All of them. And that was just so they could get to know each other. And I would do all kinds of things, movement and all that kind of stuff. And the first week was just getting acquainted to your classes, getting to remember who can remember who's in which class, all of these kinds of stuff. The second week was, I would say to I went into each one of the older kids' classrooms and I said, I would like very much if you would help out the younger kids by sitting every other seat so that you can help mentor. And I could do that because I'm tough, right? But so and then once they came to Grandstand and some of the kids would be sitting in every other seat, I would praise them like crazy. Thank you so much. As much as possible, I always recognized all those who really were helping the other kids. And I ignored those kids who sat together. But I watched the kids who didn't. I watched the kids who had separate seats. And eventually, after the third week, all the kids were sitting in every other seat, all right? I do that for about the first month, maybe, depending on the kids, depending on what I was getting from the kids. If I was beginning to feel like I was losing some of these older kids or I was losing some of the younger kids, most important thing for me to zero in on were those kids with the least skills, because those are the kids I wanted to build the skills in. So I would watch them, and if I was feeling like those kids, I was losing them, then that was when we began to break them up and have a grandstand for the older kids and a grandstand for the younger kids. But when we had the grandstand with the older kids, I always used those kids who needed help, and I incorporated them with the younger kids.
I don't think you need to change group. What you need to do is just make sure that they all get a turn to work with the lower school and the middle school. It could be kickstarting with some of our older ones basically being role models, and then the others follow. So they all know that there's kind of an exchange program that happens. It's like an exchange program, and maybe you can get some once in a way, one of the younger ones into the older ones also, with the older ones also, right?
But also remember, the one thing you want to do is you want to empower these kids.
Yeah.
And it's the kids that you want to empower are those kids who are struggling the most. And you want to bring them up. Because, you know, if the kids don't have a basis here and you're building their academic skills like crazy, they still don't have that base down there in which to rely on. So their balance is totally teetered. Academically, they may use their brain like crazy, but when they're a teenager, there is no way that they can be really part of society because they don't have the balance down here that's been built up. Okay. That sounded like a lecture. I'm sorry.
No. Radhika, you had a question, I think.
So I had a question that might sound very silly, but I wanted to kind of get your take on it, which is just, so I mean, we all have ideas of what Grandstand is. I remember even chatting with John Banta about it at length, and I just wanted to kind of, you know, for all of us, just to get insight into your mind, what do you think is sort of the purpose of Grandstand? What are we doing? What are we aiming to achieve through that space? Because I'm thinking about the specifics like developing language skills or movement in body, and we know we're doing all of these things in therapy with our kids as well. We know we're developing this in so many other ways, but why are we doing Grandstand? What's that? Just in your mind, in your words, what are we sort of hoping to achieve out of that space? What have you always aimed to achieve?
In therapy and in the classroom, they're getting all the skills that you can build into them, but they're not getting those social skills. You want to expand their environment. You want their social life to become like this, not to be tunneled. Because right now, we teach them OT, we teach them speech and language, which is extremely important. All of these are very, very important. But now what they have to do is in Grandstand, learn how to use it, learn how to spread their social capacity so that it is larger.
You know, with Yuvraj, when we used to, like Yuvraj did a lot of one-on-one therapies when he was much younger. And what would happen is, because it was more one-on-one and in classrooms, it was a separate setting, he was not able to transfer that knowledge. So Grandstand for me is a space where they can, all that the skills that they're building in their classrooms, in their therapy sessions, in their one-on-one therapy sessions, whatever they're doing, this is the space which is a space which is a space where I think they are very comfortable in, and they are able to express and then transfer that those skills that they have built into this. This is like their little social, like when you go into social gatherings, we have to be appropriate. This is where they learn to be appropriate. And these are life, I think this is the Grandstand is like building on your life skills.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Social skills, and that's how and all of us are social human beings. So in classrooms, it's very isolated, and I think it's important, but then to transfer that knowledge is even bigger. And our kids don't know how to do that. Like Yuvraj sees a pink, black, if he sees, he would know all the colors. But when it came to, like, we passed a pink billboard and it was huge and it was in his face, and I was asking him the color, he didn't know the color. This is when he was much younger. To transfer that pink on a crayon and a pink he saw in a book, to transfer it onto this big life-size object, he didn't know what color it was. He was lost because he was so overwhelmed maybe with the size and it was too many things that were coming to him. But right. So that's the space which Grandstand is built for. Yes, to do all these wonderful things, but the essence of just being a social being and how to interact is what Grandstand really is a space. I mean, according to me. I'm sorry,
Well, according to you, you're right. But also what you want to do is you want them to begin to look at not just 1 and 2 people, but 3 people and 4 people. Sure. And even if you're out in a big space, you tune these people out because you're going to tune into whatever is in front of you, or without being distracted by other people. It's a huge, huge undertaking. And I salute you because it's not easy, but I think it's a challenge, and I loved it. I thought it was a wonderful challenge. Of course, I had a lot of headaches too, but that's all right. A lot of wine in the bathtub, you know, that kind of thing.
But Grandstand was started on one stormy night, right?
Oh yeah, with Mrs. Freitas, yeah.
Yeah, it was started with one stormy night. Toby, tell them. When?
Sorry, I'm so sorry to interrupt. Toby, it was amazing meeting you. I have to head out because I have to meet a student for a social walk. And she's waiting for me at her building. Thank you so much.
It's nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Say hi to Ayana for all of us.
I will. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Sorry, Toby, I was just writing a message to you as well. I also have a few kids waiting for me, so I'll have to step out. But thank you for this. I'll watch the recording of the rest of this chat. And I'm going away with some great learnings. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anytime. Okay, quick story. Mrs. Freitas, who started Gateway School, was teaching a nursery school in the basement of her synagogue, and she was finding that there were some kids in there who just weren't learning, and they were a little bit of rambunctious and a little bit obstreperous and a little different, and she couldn't figure out what was wrong, what was going on. So at this time, and I'm talking ancient times ago here, Strauss and Leighton wrote a book about kids, and at that time they called them neurologically damaged or some kind of crazy name. And they started a school up in Wisconsin. And the school, Mrs. Freitas thought, well, she was going to go and she's going to learn from them in Wisconsin. So she went to Wisconsin. She saw this a great big gray building. She walked in the building and everything was painted gray. The walls were gray, the furniture was gray. She was told that this was her classroom. She walked in. The kids, there was a big table, and the table was separated by these boxes, you know, these cardboard boxes that were cut so that no child could see each other. And she could only wear gray. She couldn't wear any jewelry, nothing. There should be nothing there that would distract these kids to anything. It's like walking into a gray bubble. Everything was totally gray. And they said that this was the way that she was going to teach these kids. She was going to teach each one in their different cubicles, and the twain should meet. These kids should not get together at all. Well, if you knew Mrs. Freitas, because she was a little bit rambunctious and a little bit obstreperous, and she was also a little hyperactive like the rest of us. If you teach these kids, you get a little bit hyperactive, tell you the truth. But anyway, so one night, there was a huge thunderstorm, and it was so huge that it broke the big window that was in front of their classroom. She came in that morning, and there was broken glass there, and she thought, this is great. She took all the kids' chairs, and she put them in a semicircle in front of the window. And when the men came in to work on the window, she had the kids sit there and they talked about what the men were doing and how they were doing it and how hard was it and how easy was it. And this was the first grandstand. And Mrs. Freitas got fired. That was it. Okay. Oh. And it's very hot here. I have to tell you that. It's very hot here. Hot and humid. I don't know about it, what it's like there, but.
Forget it's July.
Yeah.
It's July in New York. Oh my God, must be really hot.
Hot.
Yeah.
Any more questions? Or have you had it with me? And that's perfectly understandable.
Toby, I was wondering if you have any recordings of you teaching Grandstand at your school. Do you have recordings that we can watch?
I don't think so.
We have of some, right, Varsha? We have some of Toby in Mumbai.
Should have. You know what I'll do? I'm gonna ask Suresh to find some for us, and then I'll share it with you.
Oh, that's all right. You don't need to.
But we can ask. But Toby, if you can get us some of you in New York, Gateway, New York, I think that would be wonderful too.
Okay, I'll ask, but I don't think there's anybody at school right now. But I will ask.
Ever, yeah.
Thank you. That would be
I'll
great.
find it, Zara. If I don't get back in 2 days, just send me an email.
Sure, thank you.
I'm functioning slow.
Don't rush. Don't rush.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there anything else?
Other questions?
I don't think so.
Okay. Okay, no questions. Oh, Radhika.
They need to go eat.
Yeah. My next question was, when are you coming back again? When are we doing this again? We can discuss something totally different, but we're happy to have you again and just talk about something else.
Yeah, no, but her teaching practices, I was thinking of even doing Stern with Toby, with getting her to teach us Stern, the math, one of these, like maybe in a month from now, we'll give her a break from us, but a month from now.
You should, Josie and Ginny.
Yeah, so
hey, you know
we
what?
actually had a chance. While we were there, we spoke a lot on Stern.
Maybe we can do one with them, with Jeannie, and I was telling you, Toby, we should do one with Jeannie and Josie. Yeah.
You know, also, I was going through all my papers, and I found that Kirsten talked about. She came to one of our teacher meetings, and she talked about mirroring, and that has a lot of repercussions for Grandstand. And maybe someday you might want to hear her, the teachers, on mirroring. Okay? I mean, think about it. You don't have to, but she really did a great job on that.
Yeah, we would like that. I mean, as much if you can. I mean, we can even do something with Jeannie and with Josie, and you know, whatever we can learn from you guys. And I'm sure our teachers we'll keep it open for them, because it's going to be like a Friday evening, if that's a good time for everyone, even in the US.
Or kids, or teachers, Friday evenings.
I mean, or we can do it during the week. Whatever.
We right now just wanted to hear you, so we just figured someday.
Oh.
But don't worry, with you on Fridays, I think everyone will come on.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And it'll be once, and it's optional if they want one, you know, but we want to learn this. And I think Zoom has become a really great space where, you know, even if we're all so far away and we being so close to each other can't really be around, but still coming together like this is so nice, Toby, just to kind of hear from you all the lovely, all your experience, and it's such a great opportunity for us to learn from that. So I talk to Toby.
My pleasure.
Once or twice, once a month at least, I'll end up chatting with Toby, because I always go to her with all the problems, and I ask her to problem solve for me, and she's always coming up with great ideas, and I get my inspiration from you, Toby, to keep doing what we do.
You're very kind. It's what you do. I cannot tell you how wonderful I think you all are. What you're doing for your kids, I am totally impressed. And I admire you all.
Now, these teachers are doing an amazing job. And today, what the parents had to say about all of them, they're so happy with the virtual learning. They were saying, like, some of the moms were like, we're okay, let this whole thing get over and we'll just stay home and learn, because the way they've optimized virtual learning is incredible. Even the arts, it's so difficult to teach arts virtually. And these guys, it took them they were like, when I spoke to them, I said, we have to do a webinar on arts. And Abhishek, when we first started school in June, he's like, yeah. Wasn't she? He said, we need about 2 months. I said, don't worry, take your time. And now he's mastered it, and so has the rest of the team. And the parents are so blown away with the arts program virtually. You know, so it's like each time these teachers surprise you. Riddhika also with her Grandstand is doing some amazing work. So everyone, I mean, each and every person here is doing some really good work. So I think all the learnings from you, Toby.
I doubt that.
No, I mean, Gateway stands on that foundation. You've been our mentor. Gateway has been built on all what we've learned from you, Toby. Seriously, it's not just, I'm not just saying it. I think, and everyone knows that. I think the parents feel so welcomed is when I'll just give, the other teachers don't know, but I met Toby. I remember I was moving back to India and I needed that one, I didn't know what school was around for Yuvraj, and I needed a point person in the US for the academic piece. I was going back only to be back with the family and the social angle, but I was like, how is Yuvraj going to continue learning? And my son's occupational therapist, Carrie, said, you must meet Toby Pulanco from the Gateway School of New York. And I lived on 60th between Broadway and Columbus, and this was on 61st. And I was like, really? There was a school right next to me. And I go there, Obama is being sworn in as the next president in January. It's a cold month. Yuvraj and I are walking. He knows that we're moving back to India. Then he's like, oh my God, are you taking me to another school? And here Toby and Josie welcome me like I'm their lost old friend. And I was like, who are these people? Why are they so nice? And why are they like, and they just took me under their wing. And I was so like lost. And every time I would say, oh my God, how am I going to teach him this? And she'd be like, it's easy. And then she would bring on Jeannie and Josie and everybody would come and then they would start teaching me the stern. Then there was the, what was it? The language program. You're like, okay, we're doing the language program. Sorry, PAF. Yeah, prevent academic failure. Why don't you just come? And I'm like, this seems really easy. And they would make everything sound so easy. And I was like, what is it that these women want? Why are they so nice to me? Because everywhere I would go, I was like, and Yuvraj was so like confused. He was playing up, and Toby just, again, Yuvraj was so mesmerized by her that he just went in and then she gave me just strategies how to work with him. And that's where my relationship with Toby started in 2009. I wish I'd known her while I was living there, but unfortunately I didn't get that chance. But 2009, January and until today, anytime you ask Toby for help or any of the others, they just welcome you with open arms. They give you everything they have. And that whole piece, Toby, of welcoming every family that walks into that door at Gateway Mumbai comes from you. Seriously. I don't know. I mean, even if the kid doesn't know anyone, like I keep telling these people who say, oh, please treat this family well. I said at Gateway, even if I don't say it, everyone's treated very well. This is just, and that's what Gateway is built on. And that's why today when we sat at this talk with the parents, all of them spoke about this. It's the culture which we built, and we've learned it from you, Toby. Seriously. I have, at least. And I think Varsha will vouch for that too.
I think something I want to share. So my parents are like listening to my teacher meetings and things like that because they're all on Zoom right now. And very recently, my dad was like, why are your teachers so nice? Why are they offering to do this work? And like they couldn't understand the organization that I was part of. And like now they're seeing it really. And yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would be very proud to be.
She doesn't think I work at a school.
I am.
He thinks I work at some other place where everyone's so nice.
No, I am so proud to be able to be associated with all of you. I can't tell you. I tell everybody how wonderful you are. You truly are. And you are pathfinders. And you're setting a whole new area of learning for these kids. It's wonderful.
But like Indira said, none of this would have been possible without you. Yeah. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your love. Just thank you for your generosity always.
Yeah. Thank you. And we're going to take you up on again the next one. We'll do it with whoever you say. But we want to keep having these interactions just to build. I mean, I think we have to keep learning, and that's what we've learned again from you, that you keep learning every day.
And thank you for always reminding us about the child and about how that's the most important thing.
Yeah. And about every child, individualizing it, about every child, not losing anyone in the background.
Oh, you don't want to lose kids.
Yeah.
Oh, you really don't.
I just want to say one thing. You know, we were saying of how Toby has always was influenced our practices. I mean, she might not even realize this in a larger impact, you know, how animated we are in our classrooms when we teach, or just for the matter, the grandstand. And I am not this person. So, you know, I'm taking a Zoom class. I get in front of the computer and I know there are like 9 children in my class right now in a Zoom class, and everyone, I need to call out every child. Every child needs to hear their name because that's how they're going to feel connected via the computer. And then I just realized, oh, this is how I would teach if I was at school.
Abhishek, one sec. Hi, Toby.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Wow, good.
Are you recognizing Dharmil, Toby?
Dharmil, yes.
Look at how he's looking. He's looking amazing.
I
He's
see
not-
that.
he's
It's
not
a Bollywood star here.
How are you, Toby? How is your health?
I'm fine. My health is fine. I'm hot. It's hot here, but
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Summer.
You're in the city, right? Or outside?
Yeah, no, she's in the city.
I'm in the city. Oh yes, I'm in the city. But that's okay. I get to walk Riverside Park. Remember Riverside Park?
Yeah, of course.
I walk Riverside Park. I get out because it's cooler out there than it is in my apartment.
I can imagine. Okay, Toby, lovely. Just wanted to say hi. Take care.
Take care.
Sorry, Abhishek,
Great to
continue.
see you.
No problem.
Bye-bye.
I was saying, like, like when I'm on a Zoom call and we are so animated, we need to be animated. And I think that comes from being in this space and being in the school. That's what I've learned. And I'm carrying it over a Zoom class also. And when I'm done with the class, I'm just like, done. Like, out. So I think that's a culture, and that's come from you to Gateway. And I think that's all, we all have imbibed that into us, and that reflects in our practice now. So I think thank you.
I think that's great. Of course, does your family think you're a little crazy?
Oh yeah, I think my brother is watching me teach a class now for the first time, and he's like, you have an alter ego. You're not this person. You are a different person. So yeah, it happens.
No, but really, you've really helped bring out that child in us, in the sense where the kids really, like, I remember you telling us, look silly, and then the kids have to look at you like, what the hell is this person doing? And that's what gets their attention, and they want to then focus. You're getting that focus by just being so silly. And I call you the magician. I always say Toby's a magician. She comes in front of these kids, even if they speak another language, if they spoke Marathi, if I had to take Toby to a village in India, and they didn't know the language, she would draw their attention and she would center them and bring them back just with the actions and no language. And that's what I think is what Gateway has learned, is that every time when they watched a child who was having difficulty in the classroom, what would be the focus? They would say, why is this child not learning? Is there too much language being spoken? So how do you redirect them? So now what you see in our classroom, especially in the lower classes, where there are lots of these little labels on their desks for redirecting them, and constantly the teachers are pointing to that. It was like, yes, Toby said that. Because, I remember you said, don't speak. It's like, don't talk. It's too much language spoken for them. It's too hard for them to process. And that's what and sometimes I'm like, I don't want to talk to both my kids. Forget you, Raj. Even the other one irritates me. I'm like, you just follow this. I'm not talking. So honestly, you've given me parenting skills. When I'm tired and fed up of these crazy boys, including my husband.
Listen, that works on Zoom also, huh? Just mute yourself and try talking. and the kids will be like, Miss, you're on mute and we can't hear. And I'm like, that's because all of y'all are talking.
Yeah.
One of the things I used to do when the kids were all talking, I would be
Toby, that's still our go-to.
It was
That's
great.
still our go-to.
And I once taught Grandstand, totally mimed. I did not say a word. I totally mimed the whole Grandstand because they were making so much noise. So I just did things, and I did things like this, and I did things like this, and I did things like this, and I did things. And finally I got them.
Yeah. But that's such a simple tool. That's what I'm saying. We need to. So Toby, I know the timings are a little off, but if we have an early morning class, let Toby take the Grandstand one morning.
For sure. It'll be amazing. I was actually going to request you, Toby, if you can actually, come in definitely for a few of our classes, or if that's not possible.
Early morning.
Yeah,
We'll take an early morning class. We'll do like 9:30 will be 10:30, 11:30. Oh, it'll be 12 o'clock, midnight for you. Toby, stay up one night for us and come in your pajamas to shock these kids, and they'll be like, who is this?
It'll be amazing. For sure. But Toby, would it be okay for us to maybe reach out to you and, maybe share with you what we're doing right now, what we've done in the past, so that, to discuss with you just like things we could do potentially differently, or how we could possibly like break it down, or, anything. I feel like it'll be great to get more of this from you, to really share with you all the things we're doing with our kids. And it'll be very powerful for us as well.
Sure. That'd be fine. Anytime.
Thank you.
I think we're going to do that, Toby. You're going to be in all the grandstands inside, coming to watch.
Oh my God. No, thank you.
So one day we'll ask you to like stay up a little bit. One night you'll have to do a late night a classroom session. Yeah, late night in India classroom session. We have to get Toby to do tap dancing. You have to bring Toby in.
I was just going
Get
to
wine in a cup.
Yeah, no, we're going to say we have a grandstand guest, Toby from Gateway, New York, and she's going to tap dance. She's going to show us. Toby, you have to tap dance for them.
No, thank you.
No, you have to do something like that. We have to see Toby do that. She would be incredible, and the kids will just be like,
Marcia, will you do something with her, please?
I will.
Yeah.
You start a grandstand, we do a separate tap dance again.
Yeah.
Also, Toby, 28 degrees here as well. So same weather. Equally on.
Yeah. But thank you, Toby.
Thank you, Toby. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for being on.
Thank you all.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Bye. See you. Love you. Miss you.
Love you, Toby. Miss you. I'm going to call you in 2 minutes.
Dara, I'll find it for you.
I'm calling you.
Thank you. No, not at all. If I forget, remind me. Suresh is a little busy.
Bye, Toby. It was so lovely to see you. I'm glad I managed to stay till the end. Our track record is broken.
I think Toby left.
Toby is here. Toby is here.
Toby, say hi.
We'll see you soon.
Toby, everyone saying hi and bye to you.